What up, peeps? Tony Baker here, back with another movie review. This time I'm reviewing A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, starring Tom Hanks and Matthew Rodgers. Tom Hanks plays Fred Rodgers, aka Mister Rodgers, man. We all love Mister Rodgers, man. We all love. You know what's funny about Mister Rodgers? Growing up as a kid, you loved him. And then you felt like you outgrew him, so you felt like you was too cool for Mister Rodgers. And then when you get older, you like Mister Rodgers. I think we all had that transition of like, man, Mister Rodgers, man, that's for kids. He's corny, man. And then when we get grown and start going through things, and we looking at him as like a comfort blanket, and we like Mister Rodgers, such a sweet man. And I watched this documentary, man. And this movie, man, even the trailer had my eyeballs juicy, man. Like when they was singing to him on the subway, Mister Rodgers, man. Anyway, Tom Hanks plays Mister Rodgers. And the movie is not about Mister Rodgers' life. It's not about that at all. Matthew Rodgers plays a writer who writes for Esquire magazine, and they assign him to do a piece on Fred Rodgers for American Heroes or something like that. And so he's like, Mister Rodgers, and he's that guy. He goes to him, and then he keeps meeting up with him to write a piece on him. And Mister Rodgers is just like he's very much interested in Matthew's life and how he's doing. Like even when he called him, is very. He connected, and Matthew was going through things with his dad, and so he's internal, everything's locked up, and Mr. Rodgers is going straight for his soul, just like, tell me about you. And he's like, yo, I'm supposed to be doing the interview here, but Mr. Rodgers is like, nah, how you doing? How you feel about that? How'd that make you feel? Just asking the hard-hitting human questions, and I'm like, man. Like, I would have opened up, the way Mr. Rodgers was talking to him, I would have opened up immediately. I was like, yeah, and he's such a sweet, caring, and incredibly nice man. It's just like, man, this is, and you watch the documentary, you hear things, and this is who he really was. I was like, man, this dude, we didn't deserve Mr. Rodgers. You know what I mean? As kids we did, but then we grow up and get grimy. But it was just, and like throughout the whole movie, my eyes are juicy. No tears actually rolled, but they were always jiggling with just water. And because just every conversation with Mr. Rodgers, it was just like, man, this dude is so nice, and he genuinely cares about people. He cared about this reporter, and the reporter was like resistant. He didn't know how to deal with the questions he was asking him, and he's dealing with that stuff with his dad, and the movie made you really think about your own personal relationships with people, your loved ones, your family. And there's a scene in the movie where it's just like, I want you to take 1 minute just to think about a person who really affected your life. And they just sat in the restaurant, and it was just like, and then I was sitting in the movie theater, and I just started thinking myself about my own experiences. And I remember Mr. Rodgers really did this when he got a Lifetime Achievement Award, Emmy. And he said 10 seconds, and you see the people in the audience, and you can see the other actors in the audience really just thinking about somebody. And I was like, man, I can't take it, man. Mr. Rodgers was getting my soul in this movie. And that's essentially what it was about, and I would love to know more about Mr. Rodgers and maybe his life story, but the way they presented it to where essentially Tom Hanks was a supporting character, and the guy was the main character. It was just done so well, and it really made you think about your own relationships and connections. So, but forget all that, man. Y'all want to know the smooth jazz review of A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Well, here it is. Oh yeah, I'm giving A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Shoot, I might have to give it 4.5 saxophones out of 5. It just really. It really made me dig deep in my own soul. And as a movie, what's better than that? Man, and Tom Hanks, Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks. Of course he's gonna kill it. He killed it. Man, that scene in the subway though, so sweet. All right, peeps, that's my review of A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Let me know what you thought of the movie in the comment section below. Did the trailer make your eyeballs jiggle? You know what I'm saying? Are you a fan of Mr. Rodgers? Does he hold a nice place in your heart like he does for me? Mr. Rodgers was there when movies scared me as a kid. The next morning he would be on and I would feel safe for that morning. And then the nighttime would come back around and then The Shining and The Thing and Evil Dead and American Werewolf in London would invade my psyche. And then the next morning, Mr. Rodgers with his sweater and changing his shoes. That was my comfort zone right there, man. Shout out to Mr. Rodgers, man. I appreciate you. Anyway, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and as usual, we out here.